Thursday afternoon has come up bright but windy in New York. Happy Cinco de Mayo. The Mets try and get intrepid with their bats and try and get a game from the Giants before they leave town. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the San Francisco Giants. Mets baseball is presented in HD by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. Have a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen. Ron Darling joins me in just a moment. The Mets try and salvage the finale of a three-game series from the San Francisco Giants, who haven't swept a series from the Mets since 2002. The Giants did it with their bats in the first game and with pitching in the second game as the world champions come to New York and try and sweep the Mets. On Tuesday night, Mets had a little problem with their battery. R.A. Dickey gave up 6 runs in 6 innings, and Josh Thole struggled not only to catch knuckleballs, but even to catch fastballs. The Mets had their power bats going. Carlos Beltran and Ike Davis both homered, but with a chance to win it at the bottom of the ninth, the Giants turned the 1-2-3 double play, and then Aubrey Huff's 10th inning home run against Taylor Buchholz puts the Giants in front to stay, and they win 7-6. Then last night it was the Tim Lincecum show. The 2-time Cy Young Award winner started putting in his bid for a third. 12 strikeouts over 7 shutout innings, and the Mets struck out 16 times on the night en route to a 2-0 San Francisco win. And in the wake of that game last night, Terry Collins had some rather pointed comments about his hitters. Now, the Mets will get Jason Bay back from paternity leave today. Carlos Beltran's been hot, but Terry not happy at all about the Mets' approach against these top-quality pitchers the Mets have been facing.
You know what's interesting about Terry Collins since he's come over? He's not afraid to talk about that elephant that's in the room. And last night you say to yourself, okay, you're facing Lincecum, one of the best pitchers in the league. You talked about 2 Cy Youngs, but he did not like their approach. He thought they took a lot of fastballs down the middle. Were not aggressive, and you have to be aggressive against Lincecum. Listen, he was dominant last night. He was tough last night, but they had their opportunities, and they did not cash in.
And the Mets today will face another guy who's tough to hit. Jonathan Sanchez has allowed 2 hits or less each of his last 3 starts.
Well, he's lacked a little of the consistency in his career, but he's had greatness already. He's got a no-hitter to his resume, but his last 13 starts in the major leagues, he has not given up more than 3 earned runs. So he's starting to evolve into that consistent left-hander that I thought he would. And then Mike Pelfrey, of course. Every start seems to be big. When you think about Mike, he probably couldn't wait to rip that page of April off his calendar and start here in May. And Pelfrey needs a big start today against these Giants to try to get the finale for the Mets.
Pelfrey fully healthy now after suffering the remnants of the flu in his last start against the Phillies. So it's the Mets and Giants on a brilliant afternoon. All the action coming up on SNY. NY is brought to you by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. By McFadden's. Buy your all-inclusive McFadden's game day package today. Includes food, drinks, and a ticket to the game. Purchase at Mets.com/McFadden's. By BMW, the ultimate driving machine. By Citi. And by AT&T, rethink possible. Mets Flex Packs are on sale now at Mets.com. Create a pack of 5, 11, or 17 games. Plus, all Flex Packs include a ticket for a bonus game. Call 718-507-TIXX or visit Mets.com now for your tickets. Here's your Cadillac around the majors from last night. Tim Hudson threw a complete game, one-hitter, second game of the doubleheader. And the Braves swept the Brewers 8-3 and 8-0. C.J. Wilson, 12 strikeouts. He went the distance for Texas, beat Seattle 5-2 on a 6-hitter. And they finished at 2:45 in the morning at Fenway, a 5-hour game with more than 2.5 hours of rain delays. Bobby Abreu's base hit in the 13th. That's what the Angels have to do to beat the Red Sox, stay up till 3 in the morning. And by the way, they have a day game today. Mike Pelfrey getting ready for his start, trying to get things on the right beam for the Mets. First pitch coming right up. Of the Mets today. Cody Ross back in the lineup in left field after getting yesterday off. Notable by his absence today, Buster Posey, normally the cleanup hitter for the Giants, getting the day off. Eli Whiteside starts behind the plate. He has good career numbers against Pelfrey as well, as the Giants, who are 5-4 on this road trip, have averaged just 2.3 runs and yet have a winning record.
And they're 500 for the season, mainly on their pitching. You can see the Verizon numbers of Mike Pelfrey. 15 games he won last year, has gotten off to not a good start here, but now here in May. But he pitches his best baseball here at Citi Field, 17-8 in his career. And defensively for the Mets, you see Bay now. This is the 11th start for him in 31 games. You go all the way over to Beltran, 26 out of 31 games. Harrison's going to man center, right-hander against the left-handed Sanchez. Right, Reyes, who getting his second start at second base. Terry Collins said you got to get him in the lineup. Ike Davis, who has great numbers against Sanchez at first, and Paulino behind the plate.
Tim Lincecum gets to kick back and relax.
The greatest feeling for a starting pitcher, day after a 7-inning, 12-punch-out day. You are the king.
Yeah, he was extraordinarily impressive last night, particularly at the finish, striking out the last 5 he faced. Aaron Rowan leads things off for the Giants. Rowan 2 for 10 in this series with a double and an RBI, and Mike Pelfrey set to go on a brilliant Citi Field afternoon, and it's outside for ball 1. Rowan now 33 years old, in the 4th year of the 5-year free agent contract he signed when he left the Phillies, and trying to get his season revved up. The Giants were hoping to have their regular center fielder Andres Torres back by Friday, but it looks like he might be pushed back a little bit.
Rowan, it never seemed to work out, and it's so funny. They had a decision to make. It was either Victorino or Rowan they were going to keep in Philadelphia. Decided on Victorino, and they made the right choice.
Seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
3 gold gloves later. And Rowan bangs one to shortstop, and Reyes is right in front of it. And throws out Rowan for the first out of the day. So Pelfrey starts out with a ground ball out, and now will take on the switch hitting Emmanuel Burris.
Terry Collins asked before the game today, what does he want to see from Mike Pelfrey? He says, well, he's 100% physically after the flu bug that he suffered. He wants him to throw quality strikes down in the strike zone. So far, so good.
Well, Mike has been very much a work in progress in terms of the type of pitcher he wants to be, even within this small sample of 6 starts this year. Burris 3 for 10 since being called up with Mark DeRosa on the DL, and he takes a strike. I mean, he's gone from being a sinker ball pitcher to being a 4-seam fastball pitcher to, in Philadelphia, trying to be a curveball pitcher. And I think the question really needs to be asked at this point in Mike's career. He's so enormously talented. What is he at his best? What is the pitcher that the Mets can hope for him to be in order for him to maximize his success?
Well, I will tell you, there'll be definitely some disagreement from people on that bench on what he is supposed to become. Nice play there by Reyes.
Well, knuckled through the wind, and that's the second out.
I believe when I watch Mike Pelfrey, he's got the simple motion, right? 6'7", but doesn't really use his lower half that much. He's more of an upright pitcher who just kind of, with gravity and that big body, falls forward. But I would look at a guy like Brandon Webb in his prime. I would look at a guy that throws ground balls, has low pitch counts, goes deep in games, not afraid of contact. I know that some people feel he'd be better as a 4-seam pitcher up in the strike zone. I'm not one of them.
Mike Fontenot hitting 3rd in the order for the 3rd straight day. Before this series, Mike Fontenot had hit 3rd 3 times in his career with the Cubs back in '07. But Bruce Bochy stuck him in that 3-hole. A little short-handed in his lineup, and it's paid off for him the first 2 days of the series. Fontenot's driven in 3 runs in the 2 games.
Well, you mentioned last night he had such an outstanding college career at LSU. Drafted by the Baltimore Orioles, but involved in that Sammy Sosa trade when Sosa went over to the Orioles.
And Pelfrey just misses a ball and 2 strikes.
So you can see the theme here right away. He's taken away some of that 92, 93, 94, has gone to 88, 89 with that sinker. His plan today, so far, looks like he's going to use that 2-seamer a lot.
Strike 3 call. Got that 2-seamer to run back on the inside corner, and he gets Fontenot. So a 1-2-3 opening inning for Pelfrey. 10th straight game Met pitchers have not allowed a run in the first inning. Mets come to bat, no score. for the Giants this afternoon. Jose Reyes leads off. Reyes had 3 hits and 3 walks in the opening game of the series, but took an 0 for 4 against Lincecum last night. It'll be Reyes, who and right for the Mets in the opening inning against the very talented Sanchez. And there is your Geico Mets starting lineup. Only the second start of the year for Chin-Lung Hu. Jason Bay back in the 5-hole. Mets are 7-3 with Bay, 5-15 without him this year. How about that?
Wow, that's huge.
That's a strike 2 and 1. I mean, it's obviously not all presence of Bay, but it just gives so much more length to the Mets lineup when Jason is in there.
And also against the left-handed Sanchez.
Reyes thinking about a bunt and takes a strike. Sanchez, who pitched a no-hitter in 2009, always a low-hit pitcher.
Reminds me a little bit of Sid Fernandez in our day. Can strike out the world, not going to give up a lot of hits. The walks tend to be a problem in the past. 96 last year.
Well, how about his last start is ball 3 to Reyes. He took on the Nationals last Saturday. Sanchez hit or walked 7 of the first 10 batters in the game, and yet worked 5 innings, never allowed an earned run. And that's the kind of pitcher he is.
Houdini.
And Reyes pulls one down the left field line, but it hooks and goes foul.
He's the kind of kid that's got a lot of late life on his ball. Pretty simple motion. Doesn't put a lot into it. Early in his career, he was a max effort guy, throwing 110% on every pitch. Now really so much more under control, under the tutelage of Dave Righetti.
Now 28 years old. 7th pitch to Reyes is fouled back. Among active pitchers who've had 500 or more innings, only 2 pitchers have a higher walks per 9 innings rate than Jonathan Sanchez. He's at 4.6 walks per 9 innings for his career. Only Juan Cruz and J.C. Romero are higher, and they're substantially relief pitchers. And Reyes goes down swinging at a good fastball by Sanchez, and that's the first out.
Well, 91 miles an hour going away and down from Reyes. Well placed. Look at that footwork. Gets over that inside of the rubber on the third base side. Keeps that foot flat and then pushes off. Yeah, he has a big stride just like Lincecum. A little taller than Tim.
So the first Met hitter strikes out this afternoon after the Mets fanned 16 times in the game last night. And now Chin-Lung Hu making just his second start. He's had only 14 at bats. Looking for his second hit. And Sanchez gets ahead of him 0-2.
Defensively, the Coors Light defense. Ross getting the start in left. Rowan, Shearholtz. He's had a nice series in right field. Tejada, Fontenot, Burris, who had a nice game also in the first one. Huff at first base, who's turned it on since going 0 for 20.
It's funny, the Mets saw Raul Ibanez in Philadelphia, and they've seen Huff in this series. Both have long overs, and the last 2 days, both all of a sudden have gotten hot.
Yeah, back-to-back games with home runs for Ibanez and 3 hits in yesterday's game.
1-2 to Hu, and the fastball away. 2-2.
That's a pretty good pitch there by Sanchez. Definitely just off the corner. Eric Cooper, home plate umpire so far.
And same spot, 3-2.
There's Ron Wotus, the bench coach for Bruce Bochy. Pretty good seat.
And ball 4, so who fell behind 0-2 works out the walk. And so Sanchez passes his first. You see Sanchez, big-time strikeout pitcher, second only to Lincecum over the last 5 years in strikeouts per 9. This year even higher. He's at 10.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. And now David Wright is 1 for 7 in this series, hitting at .248 for the year. He's had some success against Sanchez, as he generally does against left-handers. He's 5 for 12 with a home run against Jonathan Sanchez. So who is the first base runner of the game?
As you saw right there, Sanchez is a very good move. He does take his time to home plate, does have a slide move. One of the things we're going to notice today, though, it's very windy. It doesn't look like it, but very windy here on the field.
No stolen bases against Sanchez so far this year. 2 have been caught. Did you read the study that came out the other day from the American Meteorological Association about baseball in the daytime? They studied over 10,000 day games in a 25-year span and found that on sunny days pitchers had the advantage, and that on cloudy days hitters had the advantage.
Wow.
There was about a 9-point difference in the batting averages depending on whether it was sunny or cloudy over a span of 10,000 games. That's obviously a huge sample. And it is a sunny day today. Right hits one out to center field, and Aaron Rowan is right there. And that's the second out. They found it didn't have as much of an impact on power, but that it did have a substantial impact on batting average.
Looking at this swing by David, just a little quick, got that off the end of the bat. Watch, he doesn't get that foot down in time to get that bat through. Get that ball almost even with the plate. You always want to hit it in front of the plate.
So who's still at first with 2 out? Now Carlos Beltran, the batter. Beltran having another fine series, 4 for 7, 2 doubles and a home run in the first 2 games. He's been the hottest bat in the Mets order. And he's been doing it from both sides of the plate. But he pops this one up, and playable for Miguel Tejada. He had the glasses down, and he puts it away to end the inning. No score after 1 at Citi Field. Down on Houston Street.
I am a pastrami fan. It's not necessarily a fan of mine if you eat too much of it.
That's a little corned beef getting sliced there. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Pastrami is just, I can't get enough. Get to Citi Field as the series with the Dodgers and the red-hot Andre Ethier begins tomorrow night at 7:10 p.m. Tickets start at $10. Visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX for your tickets now. Well, it is Cinco de Mayo, and some fans are in full celebration. The cerveza is frio, and enjoy the afternoon.
There's a lot more holidays now than when I was a kid, I'm telling you. Just they come up all the time.
Aubrey Huff leading off the second, and Pelfrey gets ahead of him 0-2.
I think at some point within the next 50 years, there'll be a reason every day to go out and celebrate.
It's kind of an extension of Andy Warhol's mantra. Every holiday will have its 15 minutes.
That's right. That's right.
And Huff rolls over that one. In comes Who. Fine defender, makes the play for the first down.
Boy, these are the swings you like to see off Mike Pelfrey. A little uncomfortable, a little out front, reaching for that ball and hooking it. If you are a sinker ball pitcher and you're running that two-seamer and the left-handed hitters are trying to pull the baseball off you, you're going to get swings like that.
Mercedes-Benz Ultra Mode brought to you by your Tri-State dealers on the web at searchmercedes.com. So Pelfrey's retired the first 4. Now Nate Scherholtz, who started all 3 games of this series. He had been a part-time player up until this series, but he has swung the bat well and getting the start today again.
You know, one thing I've seen, and we saw it last night, didn't we, with Paulino, who called a fastball in 3 times to Igarashi. His short stay here, he's only been here a while, he likes to call fastballs in. That is his mode, and he's got Pelfrey doing it already.
Toward the middle of the diamond, and Who ranging to his right this time, and another fine play for the second out. Who hasn't played a whole lot this year, but we saw during spring training just how he can handle the glove.
He just makes it look easy. This little flip to get that much on the baseball, and you know, you're not going to be able to see it as much until he turns a double play. He's got probably one of the finest arms other than Reyes in the infield.
So 2 out and nobody on, and now Cody Ross. Interesting that you mentioned that about Paulino. Remember last year he caught that Marlins pitching staff, including Josh Johnson.
And they pound the baseball inside.
Ross 1 for 4 in the series, and Pelfrey starts him with a fastball strike.
And listen, Pelfrey's had a tough April. Everyone knows that. You don't even have to talk about it anymore. But sometimes just having a new face behind there, catching you, can really help turn the tide.
Cody Ross off to a slow start after beginning the year on the disabled list.
Ross has that kind of leaning tower of Pisa as he gets in there. Just keeps his feet really close, as far back as you can, complete open stance. But right now, watching him, and I've seen him when he's at his best against the Mets, he just has an uppercut right now that you don't usually see from Cody.
He's a little guy who can hit home runs, but you don't want him trying to hit home runs. Pops this one up, and Chin-Lung Hu gives way to Beltran, and staggering on it through the wind to grab 6 straight, retired by Pelfrey to start the afternoon. No score as we go to the bottom of the second. Jason Bay leads off the home second inning and takes the fastball wide from Jonathan Sanchez. Bay back after 2 days of paternity leave. His son Garrett was born on Tuesday night. Third child for he and his wife Kristen after 2 daughters. 1-1 to Bay. His son's middle name is David, and he said jokingly, "I named him after David Wright," or so he thinks.
That's good.
Actually, it's his father's name. 2-1 to Bay. Well, who would we see recently come back? Ian Desmond, after having a baby and hit the home run and double, hit home run and triple the first game back against the Mets. Let's see what kind of celebratory day Bay can put together. And he goes around on the half swing, 2-2.
I think the first player this year to use the paternity leave was Colby Lewis.
Right.
Came back and got a win in his next start.
And he drives one toward the gap in left center, and over comes Ross, and he can't make the diving catch. Bay takes the turn and hits for second as Rowan recovers it. And so Bay has led off the second inning with a birthday present for Garrett. A double.
Nice hitting. Nice try by Cody Ross. Lays out. We've seen him make many of these catches. Boy, he got it in, but as soon as he turned, the glove turned over and his wrist turned over, the ball popped out. But he caught it in the webbing. Just couldn't hold on. Ross is one of those guys. Just, you know, he could play anywhere. He's a baseball player and a good athlete.
So the Mets have the first hit of this game. Bay at second with nobody out. Now Ike Davis. And he takes a strike. Davis just 2 for his last 18, but he had an at-bat to remember last night against Tim Lincecum.
He ended up playing Pepper in that at-bat late after he got down 2 strikes and hit a bullet up the middle, really by just a half swing or a cut down swing at least.
Had a couple of really ugly at-bats early and then fouled off some very tough pitches to get to the point where he got a pitch he could serve into center, and he lines this one to left. Ross this time plays it on the hop. Over to third goes Bay, and he arrives safely. So Davis puts one in front of Cody Ross, who looked like he got caught a little in between after the dive on the previous play.
You know, I think he was, you're right. I think he wasn't sure whether to come or go, and he went in between, and luckily caught this ball in the webbing. If that got by him, of course, Bay would have scored. But you're right, it's kind of took a circuitous route instead of that straight line to the baseball, and Bay was caught. He had to do exactly what he did. Stop. Don't go back and forth. So, as soon as he saw it drop, proceed to third base.
So the Mets with a second inning opportunity, first and third, and nobody out, and Ronnie Polino at the plate. Polino making his third start as a Met. And he grounds one to the left side. That'll get a run in. Fontenot gets the force at second, and Burris turns it over as Huff pulls it out of the dirt. They turn 2, but Bay comes in to score, and the Mets have a 1-0 lead. No RBI for Polino. 6-4-3 double play.
Well, you see this nice play by Fontenot. The problem you have on this play is that Ike Davis going into second base, either he got stuck in the mud there, sometimes a wet track, but he never makes it to the base. You've got to start that slide a little later. See how early he's starting that slide? You've got to start that later and get into the feet of Burris, try to, you know, make it a more difficult throw.
So a run in, 2 out and nobody on. Now Scott Hairston getting the start in center field today. It's been a rough beginning to his Mets career for Scott. 6 hits in 34 at bats, hitting just 176. It's looking more and more as though Angel Pagan is going to be ready to be activated when he's eligible on Saturday. Played his first rehab game last night. He'll play again today and tomorrow. And
played 9 innings last night, right?
And had a triple in the game. So it looks like that oblique is pretty well healed.
Which tells you that they caught that injury a little earlier than they've caught other injuries.
That's a good point.
Really good.
3-0 now to Hairston. But it means the Mets are going to have to make a player move, and with the way Jason Pridey has played, he's at least put a little doubt into what's going to happen when Pagan is ready to come back. Ball 4, and Hairston draws a 2-out walk. Second one given up by Sanchez, and that'll clear the pitcher's spot here in the second.
Well, I think when you look at Pridey, they brought him up to play some tough defense, and he's done all that, but also has added some nice power. Well, there's a guy, Dave Rigetti, who didn't walk too many people. What a career he had. Has a no-hitter to his belt, just like the pitcher on the mound on a memorable July 4th day in Yankee Stadium.
Yep. With Mel Allen at the microphone.
Wow. 1981, I believe.
Mike Pelfrey 0 for 9 on the season, and he takes ball 1. Jose Reyes would be next. Well, Miguel Tejada going on from third base to chat up Jonathan Sanchez. And so after walking Hairston on 4 pitches, Sanchez falls behind Pelfrey 2-0. And now Eli Whiteside tries to provide some words of wisdom.
Well, that's kind of been the mantra for Sanchez, is that he has kind of lapses of concentration, it seems.
Well, the guy who he has always been compared with over the course of his career has been Oliver Perez. And, you know, Sanchez has had success over a more extended period of time than Ollie did, but they've got some similarities to them. Way outside, 3-1 to Pelfrey.
Well, the thing I would find similar between these two pitchers are guys that early in their career had amazing talent, strike out the world, but just like Oliver, who was a below 500 pitcher, 36-40 for his career.
Well, the one thing that Sanchez has been able to do is maintain his fastball, which you know, obviously disappeared on Ollie over the course of the last few years, and among all the other problems that he had led to his demise. Hairston gets set to run, and Pelfrey loses the bat. And it sails just over the dugout, and it appears everybody's okay. There's just no place to run when that helicopter comes your way. The air fender? Ducking. Wow, that's scary.
But you know that the Mets players, particularly David Wright, going to be all over Pelf now. The bat's going even further than the ball now. Come on.
Well, Pelf is okay with the fan keeping the bat. He needs a stickier one anyway. Let's see him getting that grip. Can't have enough pine tar. Does anybody actually use real pine tar anymore?
No, they use that the Manny Mota stick. There's another one out there too.
Yeah, Pelfrey fouls another one, this time managing to hang on to the lumber.
I didn't hit, well, unless it was really cold. I didn't like to hit with batting gloves. And you would get that Manny Mota stick. You see it right here. And what you do is you just rub that up and down the bat, and it really gets chalky and sticky. Problem is, if you're a pitcher, you go out there and you got to try to get that ammonia water and get it off your hands.
Unless you're Jay Howell.
That's right.
Too low, ball 4. And so Sanchez has walked the 8 and 9 hitters back to back with 2 out, and that'll leave the manager scratching his head. Hitting the road, take the Mets with you this season. Subscribe to MLB.tv today to see every Mets game live or on demand on your computer or your favorite devices. Visit Mets.com to order and get more details. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere. So Dave Rigetti out to try and counsel Sanchez.
You know, I got that year wrong, of course. It was 1983 on July 4th that Rigetti threw that no-hitter. And I just remember it was against the Red Sox, struck out Wade Boggs on a curveball. Of course, the great call by Mel Allen. Rigetti went on to save 252 games as a closer.
Had an Eckersley type career.
So 2 on and 2 out for Reyes, who struck out his first time up. Mets have a run home here in the second. And a breaking ball to start off Reyes after walking 2 straight hitters.
You know, Gary, a lot of pitching coaches will tell you if you're having a hard time throwing your fastball, mix in a breaking ball. Sometimes it'll help your feel. And that's what he did right there, although still for another ball.
See the numbers on Dave Righetti, who had a spectacular career and a great second career now as a pitching coach. He has had some gems in San Francisco, but he's also taken some pitchers who were not of Lincecum and Kane type quality and turned them into some pretty serviceable pitchers.
Oh, he's a coach for his hometown team. He's a San Jose kid. His dad was a shortstop on the San Francisco Seals in the day.
Reyes lines one to left center for a base hit. Over goes Rowan. He can't cut it off. In to score is Hairston. Pelfrey lumbering around third. He will score. Reyes races for third. He's in with a 2-run triple. And the Mets have a 3-0 lead.
Well, outstanding job by Jose. Gets a fastball in the middle of the plate and hit that ball as hard as any ball he's hit all April and May here. Gets it right on the good part of the bat. And Rowan thought he could cut it off at some point, but took the wrong angle and then got beat by the ball. And you know these outfielders for San Francisco play very shallow. And of course, with a couple of outs, you're running at the strike of the bat. And big Pelf.
He used every ounce, didn't he?
He did.
Third triple of the year for Reyes. And now Chin-Lung Hu's swinging and missing in a changeup.
One of the best things about watching Mets baseball the last few seasons is watching this happen. If Reyes had been born in Florida or Texas, I think they would have made him a wide receiver or DB.
Kick
Runs
returner.
like that. Kick returner. There you go.
Right? He would have been the next Devin Hester. Who walked his first time up. Mets with 3 runs home in the second. Reyes now with 10 RBIs. So he started driving some runs. Remember, he was, what, 2 for 25 at one point with runners in scoring position, but he's had 2 hits in this series to drive and run. Two and 2 to Who. Mets have had 6 men come to bat in this inning, and 5 of them have reached base.
You know, talking about Reyes, it was in this series when you talked about 2 for 25, but he got that nice broken bat hit off Runzler that might have turned the tide for him.
On the outside corner, Who is down looking, and the inning comes to an end. But the Mets put up a 3 spot. One comes in on a double play, home, but the next 2 come in thrilling Jose Reyes style. Gets the triple by Rowan. Even Pelfrey scores, and it's 3-0 New York. today's game, plus a preview of tomorrow's Mets-Dodgers series opener, as Brian Custer, Brandon Tierney, and Mark Malusis bring you all the latest New York sports news in the Wheelhouse, presented by Pepsi, part of the New York Sports Local, today at 5:30 on SNY. And here's your Mets upcoming schedule. Remember, all Mets games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV. And you can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. The Dodgers are in town after concluding their series yesterday against the Cubs. Miguel Tejada bounces the first pitch from Pelfrey out to Reyes. One pitch and one retired, and Pelfrey is now retired 7 in a row. Well, let's put the clock on Reyes.
Oh, nice. There's some NFL scout who runs the combine is looking at this right now.
The way there was 3.9 to first. Not bad from the right side. 10.82. Can you imagine? That's 90 yards with 2 turns. 10.82.
Craziness.
Here's Eli Whiteside. Whiteside getting his first start in this series. 3 for 15 on the season. 31-year-old backup catcher. It's a nice job backing up Buster Posey.
That's right.
5th start of the year for Whiteside. Pelfrey has come out throwing fastballs, throwing sinkers, throwing strikes.
Manager said pound the strike zone, low in the strike zone. He's gotten the memo today.
To the right side, and Hu slides over. And he throws it away. An ugly toss by Chin Lung Hu. Wide right.
Wow. You know, I'd have to say that the only thing I could say about this play is it got a little fancy Dan on it. You know, kind of that little flip, underhand here, little style points, and it cost him.
An old Manny Trio on him.
That's Manny, exactly. Manny could get away with it, though.
Manny threw bullets from that low arm angle.
You dropped a Scott Norwood on him.
I noticed our Giant fan in the truck groaned when I said that. Here's Sanchez to bunt, and he takes ball 1. Sanchez 1 hit, no sacrifices so far this year. There goes Whiteside, and Sanchez bunts it foul. Is that a missed sign?
No, I think what is happening is that you know, Ike Davis at first base, they're trying to be very aggressive, Ike and David, and that's really important. Problem is, if Ike leaves his position too early, that allows Whiteside to drift off the base 10, 12, 15 feet. If he gets that big of a lead, then go.
But what's the advantage to the Giants having him run when the pitcher's going to bunt it anyway? He's not going to third. And that bunt goes foul, and it's 1-2.
Well, the advantage is that even a bad bunt, he gets the second. And I'm talking about something not in the air, you know, something that's right back at the pitcher. You know, these are the moments. Now it's 2 strikes. I'm sure Sanchez is still bunting, but for Mike Pelfrey, these are the moments that you would love to be aggressive. Throw that first pitch for a strike. Be really aggressive going after Sanchez, and you got the catcher on first. You might be able to get yourself an out at second base and the pitcher running.
Sanchez bunts that one. It's a fair ball, and they get the out at second base, and Sanchez never ran, and so the Mets turn the double play. Sanchez thought it was foul. Eric Cooper immediately signaled fair, but I guess Sanchez didn't believe him, so he never ran. And Polino aggressively went to second with it, and the Mets turn 2. 2 to 6 to 4 on the double play to end the inning. 3-0 New York.
double play that the Mets turned.
Well, I think the great thing you have to say about Eric Cooper, the home plate umpire, look at him. Take that mask off. He gets himself in position, and Paulino does a nice job of having his body in foul territory, but his hand really over his head in fair territory. And then, of course, Sanchez, who didn't back up third on the Reyes triple, now doesn't run to first base. A little kind of bobble there by Reyes, but he's called out at second, out at first, and it makes up for the Who error.
David Wright leads off the home third for New York. Well, that was interesting. I didn't see that Reyes bobble in real time, and you know, he did not bobble it pulling it out of the glove. We had the same play the other day, but that's that call that the umpires seem to always make now. You could have easily called Whiteside safe at second base. 1-1 to Wright, and I found it interesting that when the Mets came in the dugout, Terry Collins immediately went over to Reyes to talk to him about that.
He did, just to make sure that Reyes, to me, seemed like he took his eyes off the baseball, watching Sanchez, who was not running, and almost missed the play.
Right fly to center his first time. Beltran and Bay to follow here in the bottom of the third. Mets scored 3 in the second. Reyes had the big hit, a 2-run triple. And the all-speed pitch misses. 3-1.
So discussing it right now and having a little laugh at it, but Jose having more of a laugh than Terry was as he got pretty serious pretty quickly.
There are not a lot of laughs from Terry Collins in the dugout. He is a very serious-minded manager as Wright takes ball 4, the 4th walk already for Sanchez. And before he talked to Reyes in the dugout, Collins went over and talked to Who about his bad throw.
Yeah, I thought it was a fancy Dan kind of play. I could be wrong, but you know, that's listen, outs are so valuable. There's no reason to fool around with them.
Well, especially if you're Chin-Lung Who.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be spotless defensively. Beltran fouls one off.
You know, I've had conversations with managers that consist of that. And listen, it ended in a good way, but it doesn't matter what language you speak. You know exactly where he's coming from.
Well, I think it's all of a piece, and I think we've really seen this over the first 5 weeks of the season. This is a manager who's not going to let the little stuff go. He's going to emphasize it every time until it reaches a point that the Mets are a fundamentally sound 100% of the time team. This is his goal, and it happens in increments.
And I you know, his comments after the game last night are comments that I've haven't heard since I've been here. I've only been here 6 years, but you know, I think it's interesting that, you know, he has so much confidence in his players that when they don't perform the way he thinks they can perform, he will let them know.
Breaking ball strikes out Beltran for the first down. We'll go back to last night when Terry was talking about how the hitters should have approached Tim Lincecum in those critical situations.
Everybody's aware. Everybody in America is aware how good these guys are. I mean, it speaks for themselves. You know, you got to grind out a bat. You got to grind out a bat. So you can't strike out 12 times. You know, and with guys in scoring position where we got to put the ball in play, we've got to go up there. We got to get ready to hit. We can't be late getting our feet down. Can't be late getting in bound. We got to get in there ready to hit, and we got to hunt something, and we can't miss it. That's what you do in those situations. Can't guess. You can't guess with those guys. So, I mean, it's not easy. Make no mistake about it. It's not easy. It sounds easy. It's not. Hitting's really hard. And when you face that kind of stuff, and if you guys noticed, when that guy got in scoring position, he steps up. He steps it up. But you got to step it up. I mean, it's, you know, we're a big league team too. We got to start putting the ball in play. We got to start driving in some easy runs. We got easy RBIs out there. We got to drive it, get in.
Well, you know, I haven't heard words like that from a manager in quite some time, and those are the kind of words where, if you see them, you hear them, and you read about them as a player, you make sure that you have minded your P's and Q's when you come to the ballpark the next day. And you talked about against Lincecum last night. They're 1 for 9, but really it's a 3-game epidemic.
Right.
A whole season epidemic. But the last 3 games, they're 4 for 37. That's a 108 average coming into this ball game.
Sanchez with back-to-back strikeouts, and I think even more so than the runners in scoring position, it's that runner at third and less than 2 out, and the Mets are well below 50% getting that run in, and they had 3 cracks at it against Lincecum in that 6th inning last night and never got the run home.
Well, one person they could learn from, or at least one at bat, was the Davis bat last night.
Wright gets an enormous jump and steals second without a throw. He had about 5 steps before Sanchez came out of his stretch. 8 steals now for Wright without being caught.
You know, these are the little things that can irritate you if you're a manager. Not paying attention to the runner at first. Can't shut off the running game for Sanchez, and Wright takes advantage.
First stolen base against Sanchez this year, and Ike Davis will try and get the run in. 1-1 to Ike. We talked about runners from third with less than 2 out this year. Ike's done a nice job, but the rest of the team has really struggled. And then you see the batting average with runners in scoring position lower than their overall average, whereas the league average is better than the overall league average. 2-1 now to Ike, who had a base hit to left field his first time up.
I'll tell you this, the first time that Ike Davis faced Jonathan Sanchez is the first time that I said, you know what, Ike Davis might be a player. And only because, not because he hit the 2 home runs in that first game against him, but because he was able to hit against left-handed, good left-handed pitching.
That's a year ago Saturday when Ike hit those 2 home runs off Sanchez.
That was interesting. That was not a good pitch, Gary. That was a ball. Eric Cooper called it a strike. No argument from Ike Davis.
And that's a work in progress,
I like
too.
That. I like
and
that.
Something that he has heard about. And that slider just missed. Sanchez was headed off toward the dugout. And he and Eric Cooper are having some stare downs. They had the conversation at home plate when Sanchez didn't run on the bunt as well.
Yeah.
So now it's 3-2 to Davis with Polino on deck. And the breaking ball bounced down to first, and Aubrey Huff will make the flip to end the inning. Leadoff walk, Mets strand right, but lead at 3-0 after 3.
World to the Mets. They've got the early lead on the Giants with Mike Pelfrey on the mound this afternoon from Citi Field. Nice day as well. Welcome you outside the Acela Club. And we look at Mike Pelfrey looking to rebound and make that big start today. I was talking to Terry Collins about Pelfrey, and I asked him to give me a positive that he's seen that would give him hope that Pelfrey can get on track here and be the pitcher that this team needs him to be, as Reyes will step back here. And Terry said, look, I go not last start but the start before, where he felt awful that start too, and I thought his command of the pitches down in the zone was real good, by far the best of the year. I look at it, look, last year he had that slump in August and he had a bad month. Hopefully April was his bad month and now he can get it straight the other way. And guys, I asked about the decision to let him start. He was pretty critical of himself after that start in Philly because he toyed with the idea of pushing him back, but Mike said he felt good and he let him start. I said, next time, how will you handle it? He said, look, you have to trust your players, and I did trust that Mike felt good. Next time, though, I'll do what I think is best for the team. That's the bottom line, guys.
Those are tough decisions for managers because, when your pitcher and one of your better pitchers comes up and says he's ready to go, you want him to be able to pitch. But at the same time, deep in his heart, I think he felt he should have given him a couple of more days, and it didn't happen. But, if you say you're ready to go, then there's no excuses. If you're ready to go, then you have to produce a good performance. And Mike wasn't able to do that, but he's turned it around today. This is, so far, these first few innings and first few outs, this is a great recipe for him to have success in this league.
Ahead on Burris, 1-2. Well, in some ways I applaud Pelfrey because, he's taken a lot of responsibility on his shoulders after being named the opening day starter this year. And I think he feels that, and he feels as though he hasn't performed up to the way the Mets have expected him to. And, he went out and he actually began that game well in Philadelphia, but he lost steam. He wasn't feeling well enough to have the stamina to pitch well deep into the game, and I think that's what Terry realized was the case.
Well, if it makes you Met fans feel any better, when the shocking news came in 1987 that Dwight Gooden wasn't going to be with the team for a while, I was elevated to that position and really kind of fumbled my way through a year where I ended up only winning 12 games, getting hurt in September. But I will say, by the time the second half came, I pitched as well as I had pitched at any time in my career. So these things can turn around, and I'm hip to Mike's pain as he gets a little benefit of the doubt here with that low sinker. But you know what he's done? He's thrown that ball there all game. You're going to sometimes get those.
Second strikeout for Pelfrey, and now 2 out for Mike Fontenot. Well, Pelfrey has not allowed a hit over the first 3 2/3. By the way, that is the longest that any Met starter has gone in a game this year without allowing a hit. 2 1/3 was the longest before that.
Not exactly Josh Johnson like.
Neese went 2 1/3. Young went 2 1/3. And now Pelfrey has outstripped them mightily at 3 2/3.
Ronnie, what you were talking about, isn't that a little the reason why Terry Collins wanted to name Mike Pelfrey the opening day starter as early as he did? So to kind of give him time to come to grips with that too.
That's a good point, Kevin, because it was such a shock to us. But you have to remember that we had a lot of number 2s there, or 2 1/2s or whatever, and had a lot of help. But the problem wasn't Dwight going down, is David Cone going down. Sid Fernandez went down. Aguilera went down. Almost everyone on the staff, and the rest of the year we really tried to patchwork it with guys like Bob Gibson. No, not that Bob Gibson. Tom Edens.
Don Schulze.
Who was the tall sinker-ball pitcher? John Mitchell.
3-1 to Fontenot. And he hits one in the air to right field. And Beltran moving back near the wall, looking up, and it's out of here. Mike Fontenot with his second home run of the year. The first Giant hit goes up in the Pepsi porch. And it cuts the Met lead to 3-1. Only the 4th home run Pelfrey's given up this season. Fontenot placed in that 3-hole by Bruce Bochy for this series, and he's had himself quite a run.
Well, it really has. And yesterday's ball game was really the main offensive star for the Giants in yesterday's game. He led off the 6th with a walk and scored the first run, and then drove one in the 7th. And here, with the first hit off Pelfrey, a fastball up in the strike zone. And great power by Fontenot, who doesn't usually show that kind of power.
24th career home run. He's hit as many as 9 in a year, but that was playing in Chicago, where you get a few boosts from the wind. Aubrey Huff gets jammed. It's 1-1.
Very interesting. A couple last two pitches, both four-seamers from Mike. That one to Mike Fontenot, and this kind of cutter into Aubrey Huff, and they both had good swings on the baseball.
Two and one now to Huff.
There's the IOTV pitch differential. Want it low and away. And the ball's straight and true.
And Huff pops one up in foul ground. Ike Davis should have enough room, but the wind is grabbing it, and I can't make the play as it blows into the stands. Well, saw the effect of the wind there. He had about 15 feet of space when it went up, and that space disappeared.
You know, that's one of those plays that you don't know until you get the first one. Now, if Ike were to get another one, he would go straight to the stands and work his way back if he had to. But that ball just kept drifting on him.
Part of the problem with windy days in this ballpark is there's not any one direction in which the wind blows. And Huff flips one toward the right field corner, and that ball is in play. Or is it foul? Foul ball. Beltran fielded it out of the corner as though he thought it was fair.
That was a late
First base
call.
umpire Mark Carlson said no.
Well, Aubrey Huff hooking this baseball. I thought it was going to be out of here for a second and just missed. Hitting the sidewall.
So a couple of hard hit balls for the Giants here in the fourth inning. Fontenot with the home run. Now Huff with the hard foul. 2-2 from Pelfrey, and he jammed him again.
Now, one thing you've noticed this inning, other than the pitch that Aubrey Huff just hit, Mike's ball has been elevated ever since the home run to Mike Fontenot. And that's something he's got to work on. When you get in trouble, go back to Old Faithful, down and away.
Well, the other thing to note on Pelfrey so far this year is that he's been okay first time through the batting order. But after that, the numbers have gotten ugly. Hitter's hitting .265 first time through. Not great, but not bad. But after that, .392 the rest of the way. And the battle continues with Huff. You know, in the last start it made sense because he was pitching depleted after losing all that weight. Should be fully healthy today.
I think he needs to mix in a split finger here to Aubrey Huff.
Ninth pitch of the at bat. And pulled behind the bag. Nice play by Ike Davis, and Pelfrey gets over. Side retired. Fontenot with the home run to break the ice for the Giants. Mets lead at 3-1. Ronnie Polino leading off in the bottom of the 4th inning against Jonathan Sanchez. Mets with a 3-1 lead. Polino bounced into a double play his first time up as the first run of the game scored. It'll be Polino, then Scott Hairston, and Mike Pelfrey to bat for the Mets in the 4th. Polino getting his 3rd straight start today. But Terry Collins made a point to say that Josh Thole would be back in the lineup tomorrow night. It's a fine line you walk with a young player like Thole. You want to make sure that he's fully ready to go in terms of his catching, but you also don't want him to lose confidence sitting on the bench too long.
And you want to give your team the best chance to win. I mean, you got a guy, Polino, seems to get a hit every time up.
And he draws a walk this time, and the Mets have a leadoff base runner. That's 5 walks now for Sanchez, including leadoff walks the last 2 innings.
Well, guys, John Debus, the Mets bullpen coach this year, new coach to the team, and he's a guy that has experience here. He was an outfielder when he played, converted to a catcher, so he worked with Josh the other day, and I talked to him about what they worked on. He said, really it was all a setup issue with Josh, and when I say that, he was too far back on his heels. Honestly, it's something that I saw looking at film coming into the season, but I'm not going to mess with it. He had success last year, and I really wanted to see him play in person. So when he started having these issues, we started talking about it, and we worked to change that. He would get so far back on his heels that it would be hard for him to come off and use his footwork to move left to right to block baseballs. It became a problem, and when you're in that wrong position, it changes everything. He said the other thing for Josh is, keep in mind, he's only been catching for a few years, and he doesn't have anything to go back on here, so he gets into the slump and he gets into a bad habit, and he has nothing really to go back on. So he doesn't think it's going to be a problem. It's going to be too hard to correct. Nice play by Tejada.
And a beautiful pickup at second by Burris on the bad throw by Tejada. Nicely done at both ends to get the force play on Polino.
Well, a bullet by Scott Hairston spun Tejada around and short hopped it to Burris, who did 2 great things there. Picked it and didn't throw it to first base. Tejada with the fine play with the leather first, spins around, and then with the throw, of course, great play, one-handed by Burris there.
Now Pelfrey up, and the Giants look for the bunt. With Tejada, they were playing him at shortstop earlier this year. I don't know if that's a position he can still play. Of course, they have Sandoval, who's going to be out for a month and a half. But third base looks like a better spot for Tejada right now.
He still has the quickness with his glove and his hands, maybe not with his feet anymore.
Getting back to Thole, though, I wonder whether, in any respect, catching the knuckleball as successfully as he did last year might have created some bad habits when Josh is catching a more conventional pitch.
Well, when you catch a knuckleball, of course, you have that little 45-degree angle, and you're trying to pick the ball out of the air. There's not very little, or if any.
Picks off the popped-up bunt for the second out.
Little, if any, dropping to your knees to block the baseball. You're really just trying to pick it. Even if it's in the dirt, you're one-hopping it. And you can develop some bad habits. But I think, what has happened, there's been a lot put on his plate. He's catching a major league staff every day. He's trying to get his hits here and there. And I think what happens is that you can't forget, especially for Josh, who's always been a great hitter, or solid hitter, that defense comes first in this game for young catchers. And that has got to be the most important thing he does. And he'll get back to it. We've seen him do it, so there's no reason to think he's not going to do it again. And under, of course, Deeb's guidance, he'll be back to normal.
The other thing, guys, just quick too, is Debus said he had the same exact issue with Russell Martin when he coached him in L.A. He said Martin did the same exact thing early in his career. It's a simple fix. They worked on it, and obviously he changed that habit. So it's not like Josh is doing something that's completely new.
Reyes has the biggest hit in this game, a 2-run triple his last time up, and he takes a strike from Sanchez. Well, tomorrow he'll be catching Jonathan Neese, and I would think among all the Mets starters might be the easiest guy to catch.
And they've caught he's caught him many times in the minor leagues also, so there's a familiarity there.
Hairston at first with 2 down. He's running.
Reyes takes a strike, and Whiteside's throw on a hop is too late. And Scott Hairston has his first stolen base of the year.
Well, to see these kind of jumps that the runners are getting, right first and now Hairston against Sanchez, there's an obvious sign that's been picked up by a scout or the bench or Mookie Wilson that lets them know when Sanchez is going to the plate, because those jumps are extraordinary against a left-handed pitcher.
Which is interesting because there had not been a stolen base against Sanchez this year before today. Hairston had 6 stolen bases last year for San Diego. His first now as a Met, and a chance for Reyes to pick up another RBI. And Jose lays off, almost fell over doing so as he took the changeup 2-2.
Boy, that was a beautiful shot right there. I see the curveball, good break, straight down. This shot right here, I couldn't hit when I played. I certainly can't hit from this shot either. Wow. Tells you how quick that ball gets on the catcher. It's easy to say, boy, we were talking about Josh. It's so easy to say, you got to block that ball. I mean, you got to be in front of that ball. You see how quickly that happened, how short that curveball was, and Whiteside got over and smothered it. Nice play.
Normally we show you the pitches from center field and the ball's moving away from you, and it doesn't give quite the perspective that this does when the ball is coming in on you.
It's amazing when you have folks that come out to the ballpark. The two things they notice if they're on the field: how far it is from the pitcher's mound to home plate, and how deep it is to the fences. Looks pretty close to me.
Strike 3 call. Reyes didn't think so. Eric Cooper called that third strike on the curveball. Well, Cooper's heard a little from both sides today. Reyes thought it was ball 4, and it sure looked like it. Reyes' 2-run triple highlighted the Mets' 3-run second. Mike Pelfrey's given up only 1 hit, a home run to Mike Fontenot. And the Mets lead 3-1 as we start the 5th. Nate Shearholtz leads off and takes a strike from Pelfrey. Shearholtz grounded out to second base. A nice play by Chen Lung Hu going up the middle. His first time up. Pelfrey again jamming a left-hand hitter. Did that with Aubrey Huff in the last inning.
It's really I'm going to put the onus on Ronnie Paulino. He has just changed the whole attitude and sequence of pitches for Mike Pelfrey this afternoon. He just gets inside, sits down there. Look at, he's pointing down the ground. He wants that breaking ball in the dirt. Pelfrey left it upstairs.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by RPL Equipment. From Midtown to Montauk, for all your contracting needs, visit them online at rplequipment.com. Well, the results have been terrific for Mike so far this afternoon. Shearholtz had no place to hit that but foul.
You noticed early in the game, Mike was using that two-seamer, throwing at the left-handers coming back over the plate. He's eschewed that and gone now a little more with the cutter and four-seamer. I don't know why, but maybe he's trying to mix up his pitches here the second and third time to the lineup, as you pointed out before.
To shortstop, and Reyes fields that curling hop and throws it too late and by Davis, and Shearholtz heads to second, and he'll make it unimpeded. Well, Reyes waited on that ball, which was not hit hard, and then when he gunned it, probably wasn't going to beat Shearholtz anyway, and then threw it too high.
He didn't know the speed of Shearholtz. See how he took his time, looked at the baseball, and then realized that he had to fire it, which made for the errant throw. That ball's got to be charged. Shearholtz has shown this whole series that he has really good speed, and he's one guy that hustles out of the box.
We'd have to assume that's an error all the way on Reyes, and that's how they'll call it. Now Cody Ross with a runner at second and nobody out, and he first pitch swings and fouls back the fastball. So the Mets have made two infield errors today from the two unlikeliest guys to make throwing errors, Chin Lung Hu and Jose Reyes, two guys with the best arms on the infield, both in terms of strength and accuracy.
Yeah, well, I think with Hu, like I said, got a little fancy, and for Jose, I just didn't think he knew who the runner was, or lack of concentration.
By the way, Mike Pelfrey has now thrown 13 consecutive strikes. And on Ross 0-2.
Trying to pull a Halladay or a Sid Fernandez, I guess, right? 18 straight for Halladay to open up against the Mets in that game in Philadelphia, which tied it hadn't been done since 1991 with Sid Fernandez.
Ross flying to right his first time. Miguel Tejada hitting 7th in the order, waiting on deck. Last time that Pelfrey faced the Giants, it was a rather memorable game 2 years ago in San Francisco. Remember, the Mets played a 4-game series out there, won the first 3 games, and then Pelfrey hooked up against Matt Cain on a Sunday night, and that's the game that he had all those balk problems. Remember, he had, what, 3 balks,
3 balks in the game?
Didn't pitch poorly other than that. Gave up only 2 runs, lost 2-0 because Cain pitched a gem. But that was kind of a turning point in that 09 season for Pelfrey.
It was kind of like the Giants recognized that he had some problems with runners on base and took full advantage.
Those problems with the running game didn't really crop up this season until his last start in Philly. Gave up some stolen bases, then tried to slide step with Ryan Howard, and Howard hit one on the second deck. Giants haven't had many base runners this afternoon, so that hasn't been an issue. He's only given up 1 hit, no walks. 2 infield errors have produced base runners. And now we got papers flying around the infield from all the wind that's blowing.
Also, the kind of tempo of Mike Pelfrey with runners on base just slows his entire world down.
And Ross loses the bat, strikes out, and that first row behind the third base dugout has become a danger zone. That's the same vicinity where Pelfrey threw his bat earlier in the game.
Little slider on that 3-2 pitch. Way out in front is Ross, and baseball becomes a hammer throw in the Olympics here. It's interesting that people really get into trying to catch that.
That's incomprehensible. Something you want to get out of the way of.
He's got his lovely date with him. He's going out there to catch the bat.
Even if you bring a glove, it's hard to catch a bat.
Third strikeout for Pelfrey, 1 out on the inning. Here's Tejada, and he takes a knee-high strike. Tejada bounced to short his first time up. Scher holds at second with 1 out. Now Miguel Tejada, now 36 years old. He was a tremendous player in his prime in Oakland. Won the MVP in 2002. 6-time All-Star, and a guy who he played every day. Over 1,100 consecutive games.
Grinded it out.
And even now, he's 36. He's playing a day game after a night game.
Well, he has that enthusiasm about the game that has never left him, despite his age. It's Whiteside on deck. He really was the foundation for some of those great ball clubs over there in Oakland.
And had the knack for the big hit late. Remember when they had that 20-game winning streak?
Right.
He's late on that one. 2-2.
Again, back to the two-seamer from Mike. You can see the funny swings you'll get. This ball down right over the top by Miguel.
It's funny how the movement on that sinker, which was absent for so long, all of a sudden has returned.
It appears and reappears and goes away sometimes. It's interesting, a fleeting pitch that I've ever seen any pitcher have.
World Series champion manager last year. Won a World Series in his 16th season as a big league skipper. That's the longest that had ever taken a manager to win his first World Series. 12 of those years with the Padres, and then taking over the Giants. That slider fouled off. Bochy has been a quality skipper for a long time, and he had a lot of teams in San Diego where he had no chance, and yet was always able to keep them respectable.
Well, he was my locker mate in 1982 in Tidewater, and he was miserable because he wanted to play every day. He couldn't. The Mets had a couple prospects, in Mike Fitzgerald and John Gibbons, but we used to call him Sunday Bruce Bochy. He only had 251 at bats that year, 15 home runs, 52 RBIs. Wow.
3-2 now to Tejada. There's a quiet toughness about Bochy that I think players just love.
Yeah.
Never hear players say a bad word about him. Three-2, and Tejada rips one, and David Wright has it for the second out. Talk about do or die. That was do or have a hole put in.
Tejada's hit the ball hard twice now. Gets that fastball inside, pulls it down the line. It was right at David. Caught it right off the shoe top.
With the Mercedes-Benz Ultra Mode, brought to you by your Tri-State dealers, on the web at searchmercedes.com. So now 2 out and a runner at second, and Eli Whiteside the batter. Whiteside hit a routine ground ball. Chin-Lung Hu made a throwing error in the third inning.
Huge out here for Pelfrey with the pitcher up next.
Whiteside fouling back the fastball, 0-1.
Whiteside has 3 hits in 6 career at-bats against Mike Pelfrey. Guillermo Mota up, down, sideways, hanging around.
He's one of those guys who likes to throw a couple times during the game, so you never know if he's up to get ready or up to get loose.
Well, if he gets up, it just gives the fans at Citi Field a chance to boo him.
Yeah, boy, they did really boo him, didn't they?
Not exactly a beloved figure in Mets history.
Yeah. Long memories here.
You know, there's a certain vilification that Met fans have for some players in Mets history, some of whom might have helped them get to a postseason, but didn't necessarily perform well in the big spot in the postseason.
Yeah.
Mota's one of them. Kenny Rogers is another.
Really?
Well, Kenny went 5-0 for the Mets down the stretch in '99. He pitched very well in Game 5 against the Braves, the 15-inning game. Came back in Game 6, and of course,
The Andrew Jones at bat, right?
Winning run, and is forever remembered for that. Two and one to Whiteside. And Pelfrey struggling now. Threw just 27 pitches over the first 3 innings. But these last 2 innings have been a slog for him.
He kind of got away from what was successful early, and that was contact and pitching to contact. And I think at times when guys get on base, he feels like he's going to get out of it by throwing the perfect pitch. That was a perfect pitch there. But he's got to stay true to himself and still pitch to contact. Contact's going to mean outs, and it's going to be lone pitch counts for him.
Well, particularly if he has that movement on the sinker.
Yeah.
He's going to get a lot of balls pounded into the ground. Still has given up just the 1 hit and not walked anybody. But it's just taken him a while to get there these last 2 innings. 3-2 to Whiteside, and he fouls off the fastball. 3 straight full counts for Pelfrey after Sherholtz reached on the leadoff error. Again, the 3-2, and he walked him. So there's the first walk of the day issued by Pelfrey. And so the Giants have 2 on, and they'll get the pitcher up there.
Here comes Danny Wortham. You know, it's you know, you don't know what is inside of a pitcher or a player, but you know, we've seen it much too often with Mike. You know, he's got a game going that is spectacular. 1 hit, that was only his first walk. And then Fontenot hits the ball out of the ballpark, and it's been kind of a slog since then. And to me, because it's happened a lot, it's almost like it's for some pitchers, if someone hit a solo home run off me, Gary, I'd go, you got lucky, who's next?
Well, especially at 3-0.
Lucky, it's a solo home run. Okay, who's up next? Let's go. But to some pitchers, a home run is like a fist to the gut. You know, it startles them for a while. And sometimes some bad things can happen until you get your breath back.
So now he'll try and breathe through the pitcher. Sanchez hits one up the middle for a base hit. Sherholtz around third. He'll come in to score. And the Met lead is cut to 3-2. So the pitcher Sanchez picks up his first run batted into the season. An unearned run, but a painful one nonetheless for Pelfrey, and now his lead is down to 1.
Well, first pitch fastball, sinker down the middle, just well placed here by Sanchez. Up the middle, Mike, we know, kind of falls off the mound, so that ball's going to make it through. An RBI.
So now the tying run at second base, and a huge out for Pelfrey to get against Aaron Rowan. Rowan 0 for 2, grounded to short, popped to short, 2 for 12 in the series. Ball 1 to Rowan. Reyes' throwing error looms large here in the fifth. Sherholtz reached on that leadoff error. Pelfrey retired the next two, but now Sherholtz has come around to score. Strike with the slider, and it's 1-1. Mike is about to throw his 30th pitch of the inning. And Rowan pops it up. Mike Davis calls and puts it away to end the inning. But the Giants get closer with an unearned run halfway through at Citi Field, 3-2 New York. Were the three players to appear in a record 24 All-Star games.
Wow, I got one.
I bet one of them turns 80 tomorrow.
Yes. So I have two maybe.
Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
You know, guys, one of the things we like to do periodically is to kind of check in on the Mets minor leagues and tell you how certain guys are doing. Maybe guys you'll see this year, maybe guys you'll see hopefully in a year or two. Well, Matt Harvey was the team's #1 pick last year out of North Carolina. You know, we saw him, we talked about him in spring training, we interviewed him in spring training, and he's off to a great start for St. Lucie. Started last night, actually had a perfect game through 5 innings, and this year he's dominating single-A baseball. That's the bottom line. You know, I talked to a scout today on Harvey who watched him last night, and he said he's really good. He really is. He's got good movement, good sinking action on his fastball, anywhere from 92 to 95. Really good slider, a plus slider is what he called it. Like change, he said the change is inconsistent, and the curveball came and went throughout the game, but definitely liked what he saw very, very much. A couple things, though, Ronnie, which I thought were interesting. I also talked to Adam Wogan, the Mets farm director, about Harvey. And what he said is this, you know, clearly they love what they see from him so far. Adam said one of the good things is a team that he did poorly against earlier this year, he came back and dominated last night, which is a good sign. And the other thing is, he said at this level of competition, he almost feels like he doesn't need his changeup to get guys out. We're trying to force him to use the changeup at this level. I was hoping you could maybe talk about that and explain that a little bit.
Well, that's a great point, Kevin, and you know, going to all those sources, what it lets you know is who takes a backdoor curveball to strike out. What it lets you know is that the key for the development of these young pitchers is that you don't let them get happy with, they come from college where they can strike out the world because they have this great curveball, and they can get in the low minor leagues and be able to do it still. But unless you develop your other pitchers and develop yourself as a pitcher, you're not going to be ready for this league. That's what they're trying to get them ready for. And there's certain things I like to look at when I see young guys. One, and I'll try to get this over with because David's up in a big at bat here. One is a strike to walk to walk ratio, strikeouts to walk ratio. He's 4-to-1 almost in that. And then a seriousness, a competitiveness, almost a meanness I'd like to see out of my young pitchers.
But I think the first thing that you said and the point that Kevin was making is that sometimes you have to overlook minor league numbers. I think that sometimes fans get wrapped up in minor league numbers, and I think sometimes organizations get wrapped up in them as well. But I think that the point that what necessarily works in the Florida State League, as Wright lines one to the left field for a base hit, and the Mets have their 4th hit off Sanchez. What works in the Florida State League is not necessarily going to work in the major leagues, and that the development of the pitcher, even if it costs them giving up more runs, issuing a few more walks, giving up a few more home runs, even if that's the cost and the numbers aren't as gaudy, that has to take precedence.
You have to have a 2 or 3 year plan for a guy like Matt Harvey, so that when he gets his shot, you have built such a foundation under him that he's going to have his best shot to succeed.
Beltran is 0 for 2 and takes up and away for ball 1.
Hey guys, I know this is a big at bat, but Ronnie, I had to ask one other thing because I want to get your opinion on this. Scout also said it's a little too early to tell. A slider plus curveball, a little inconsistent. At some point, he may have to just settle on one breaking ball. What's it like when you do throw both of those pitches? When and there are plenty of guys that do throw both of those pitches and throw them well in this league. But as a kid, when you're in the developmental stage, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think Lincecum throws both of those curveballs, and he does pretty well. I think that I wouldn't start taking away pitches from a young pitcher ever. You want to try to develop all those things.
Beltran hits one to deep left field. Back goes Ross to the track, back near the wall, and it's out of here. Carlos Beltran with a 2-run homer. Number 5 for Beltran, and it's 5-2 New York. Beltran just continues to shine.
The one thing about Beltran all season long is that he has just been lights out at home. Now a 9-game hitting streak at home, 3 home runs, all from the right-hand side. No, 2 from the right-hand side. Just outstanding. Trying to go in with the fastball, and Carlos has shown not only is he hitting right from the start this season, but he's getting better as a hitter as this month has gone along.
Well, Beltran now with 5 homers, 17 RBIs. 4 of the 5 home runs now as a right-hand batter. 2-0 to Jason Bay, who has doubled and scored and struck out 1 for 2. Well, the Mets continue to bash home runs at home. Their record at home isn't very good. They're just 5-10, but they've now hit 19 home runs in 16 home games. Only 7 home runs in 15 games on the road. You said you can't hit home runs at Citi Field. Tell Beltran.
No.
The thing about Beltran is when the Mets played at Shea, he was always a better hitter on the road. Ball 4, and so Bay draws a 4-pitch walk after the home run, and that's 6 walks now given up by Jonathan Sanchez. And that'll send Dave Righetti hustling out to the mound.
This is how Righetti stays in shape during the season, running out to see Sanchez.
Well, remember what you said at the outset of this game, Ronnie, that Sanchez had gone 13 straight starts going back to August of last year without giving up more than 3 earned runs. Well, he's given up 5 today. One of those pitchers that just drives a manager crazy.
Yeah.
Second straight start now that he's walked 6.
You see the ILTV pitch differential. One of that ball inside and down, and the ball never got there. It looks almost like he was trying to cut it to get it in, down and in, but it never got there. Bocher is a former catcher, so to have a manager who's a catcher, an accomplished pitcher in his own right as the pitching coach, they can really bounce some ideas off each other, but to no avail this afternoon with Sanchez.
So now Bay at first with one out, and Ike Davis the batter. Ike is singled to left and grounded to first, 1 for 2. And he pulls that one down to first. Huff gets the out at first. Now Bay in the rundown. And the tag made to end the inning. 3-3-6-4 on the double play, but Carlos Beltran makes it a good inning for New York as he bashes his 6th home run of the year. And now Mike Pelfrey and the Mets have a 5-2 lead after 5. Series opener with in-depth scouting reports and interviews with opposing team bloggers on the Baseball Show, presented by Caesars Atlantic City, tomorrow afternoon on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. And Mike Pelfrey back to a 3-run lead as Emmanuel Burris leads off for the Giants in the 6th inning. Burris has hit a soft liner to short and taken a call third strike, 0 for 2. And the first pitch curveball from Pelfrey. A weapon that he rarely uses, but will generally mix in later in a game. And Burris pops one foul, and that'll go out of play.
The last inning when they gave up a run, when Sherholtz was safe on that error to Reyes, he started him with a first pitch curveball. So that's 2 innings in a row, the first hitter to get that curveball from Pelf.
Well, Pelfrey making his way through 5 today. It's only the 4th time in 7 starts that he's gone 5 innings or more. Last time that an opening day starter failed to go 5 in 3 of his first 6 starts. You ready for the second reference of the night? Oliver Perez.
Oh, wow.
2006 with the Pirates.
Let's not pile on now.
Ollie has worked his way into the broadcast twice. Beautiful bunt by Burris. No chance to throw him out. He's just too fast. If he lays down a bunt in that territory, you might as well put it in your pocket.
Yeah.
And Burris is bored to start the 6th.
Well, he's helped because it's a little backdoor slider. And why do I say that? Because it gives him a little extra time to stay there and get that ball down the line. Sees it a little better. And when it's placed there 3, 4, 5 feet off that line, and David's not able to make that play, no chance.
Only the 3rd hit against Pelfrey, and now Mike, who had problems with the running game in Philadelphia, has a base stealer aboard with Fontenot, who homered his last time up at the plate. And he goes with the slide step first pitch and bounces it 1-0.
Of course, the home run from Fontenot in the 4th inning. You know, it doesn't show a lot of power, but boy, I guess you get inside that frame when you hit a home run, right?
That's nice. The home run was Fontenot's 2nd of the year, and he lifts this one foul down the left side. 1-1.
Interesting on that pitch. Burris wanted to run, but he didn't get the jump that he wanted.
Well, let me ask you this, Ronnie. In the wake of the home run Howard hit off the slide step with Pelfrey, you've got a 3-run lead in the 6th inning. Do you want him to be slide stepping at this point in the game?
Well, I'm sure that they work on slide stepping in between starts, and Mike probably does a nice job at it. Yeah, I would like to see him at this point in his career evolved into a place where he can slide step and keep a runner close. Yeah, I would love to see that. As we've seen now with Fontenot, all of the pitches with the slide step have been up in the strike zone.
Mike has given up 7 stolen bases in 8 tries this year. Working with Ronnie Polino for the first time, and a nice move, and Burris gets back.
When I first started to slide step, when it became so important, it was Gary Carter was getting on in years. The key for me, I found, is that the stride had to be a little shorter. Because when you slide step, your arm is late to get over the top. If you shorten your stride just a little bit, that brings your arm over the top quicker, gets the ball down.
Mike's struggling, and it's 3-1. What does Mike Fontenot have in common with former Met and former National League MVP Kevin Mitchell? You wouldn't think anything, right?
Right.
Fontenot is a non-shortstop who all of a sudden is playing shortstop. The 9th game he started there. Burris runs, and the pitch is outside for ball 4. So he'll play at second base. It's arguing a call that doesn't exist because Fontenot walked. Second walk given up by Pelfrey.
Well, I'll tell you, this is a lot closer than it should have been for Burris, who has all that speed, and he was out because he never did touch the base. He slid. His feet were over the ground. He did not slide into the base. See, they're up. The tag is applied. Finally, he scrapes his left foot over the top of the bag, but way too late.
But the play didn't matter.
I mean, that looks like the first slide I ever took.
So now 2 on and nobody out. And Huff pulls one foul. Anyway, Fontenot's been a second baseman his whole career, right? But because Sandoval's hurt, they moved to Rebate at third. They're playing Fontenot at short, so he's played more games at short this year than he ever has before. And he can do that because of the way the Giants pitch.
Yeah, they struck out 16 guys last night. You can play there. Kevin Mitchell used to do that with Sid Fernandez, play shortstop.
I mean, the first 2 games of this series, the Mets hit a total of 3 balls to shortstop. Mike O'Connor just called up when Pedro Beato went on the disabled list, and Taylor Buchholz up in the Mets bullpen. Tying run at the plate with Huff in a 5-2 game, and he pops one foul, 1-2. Huff twice has grounded out to the right side today. But a bunt single and a walk have put Pelfrey in jeopardy again in the 6th. Nate Shearholtz on deck. Went swimmingly for Mike, didn't allow a hit over the first 3 2/3, then gave up a home run to Mike Fontenot, and he has been trying to slog his way through ever since.
Huff's had some good swings at him too his last couple at bats.
1-2. Back to the mound. Pelfrey handles. Reyes with the turn, and off the bag Davis to make the tag for the 1-6-3 double play.
What a nice job by Pelf here. He gets the ball in the midsection, but he doesn't panic. Takes his time, and if you give a good throw, you're always going to make this play, especially with the arm of Reyes. Gives him a good throw, a little down, has to regroup, a little touch of the bag by Reyes. a pretty easy play against a slow-footed Aubrey Huff. Good tag by Ike Davis coming off the bag.
So 2 out. Burris now at third, and a chance for Pelfrey to get through this 6th inning as he faces Shearholtz, who was 0 for 2. Reached on an error, scored a run in the 5th. And that pitch that Pelfrey was able to throw consistently for strikes early in the game, now a little more iffy.
Well, he's a little more aggressive as far as the plate was concerned. He was more concentrated on down than hitting the corners. Now I think he's trying to do both. Have that pitch down and also have it perfect on the corners. And I don't think that's the strength of Mike's game early in the count. You can expand that plate as you get to 1-2, 0-2.
And now behind 2-0. Gordy Ross would be next. Three shakes and a nod. And a bouncing ball for Davis. Takes the kangaroo hop and brings it to the bag to end the inning. So Pelfrey gets out of 6th inning trouble, helped by a double play. 5-2 New York. Third in the inning, and when we were in Washington last week, Keith Hernandez did a little dissertation on some of the Mets hitters. We thought we'd put Ronnie on camera and let him go to school on Mike Pelfrey a little bit.
Well, I think when you think about Mike, and he's having a great game today, especially early with that sinker ball, every pitcher has an innate way of throwing the baseball. Some are on the inside of the baseball. You talk about great sinker ball pitchers. And some are on the outside of the baseball. You think of guys like Al Leiter, a pitcher for the Mets. Think about Mariano Rivera, of course, who always plays on the outside of the baseball. Well, what happens for Mike, I think, occasionally, his two-seamer and his innate side is to throw the ball from the inside. So you have a little sink. But what he's done over the course of time is that he's tried to develop more pitches, more of his game. So he's gone to a four-seamer, which means he's on the outside of the baseball, trying to work the ball away from righties and into lefties. But what happens, and it happened to me, so I know it can happen, is that you start to lose that feel for that ball on the inside part of the ball. Why? Because you're spending all your time trying to cut through it all the time, instead of that natural getting inside the baseball. So that's happened to Mike, but today less, of course, because early in the game, his sinker has been as good as it's been all season long.
Is there a natural way, as Guillermo Mota is on to pitch in relief for the Giants, Ronnie, is there a natural way for a pitcher to overcome that, or is it just a matter of muscle memory?
Well, I think a little bit of it is muscle memory, Gary, but I think even more importantly, you've got to know where your living is, where your bread and butter is, where your foundation is. And for Mike, it always is that sinker ball. Everything's got to come off that. So whenever he goes to that four-seamer and he wants to come inside to lefties to pop it inside, he knows he's going in there for effect. And then after he goes in there for effect or goes in there twice, he goes back to his bread and butter, his foundation. That's inside the baseball, having the ball run away from the lefties. That is where he'll get those quick outs and get out of innings.
Well, Leno lines one to right, and Sherholtz has it for the first out. I find that fascinating because I've never really heard it put in those terms about being inside the baseball and outside the baseball. But when you talk about, pitchers like Leiter, pitchers like Rivera who cut the ball, that makes a whole lot of sense.
Well, it's just natural for them. I'll tell you right now, Gary, at this advanced age, if I went out and played a game of catch, my ball would naturally sink, even right now. It's just the way that it's always been. And I think that, yes, you always want to develop that. I had to develop a cutter or a four-seamer late in my career. But the thing you have to remember is once you get that grip for your sinker, that is the most important pitch, more important than your secondary fastballs.
Great stuff, Ronnie. Nice job in that auxiliary studio, too. See if you can make it back down the hall to the booth. Here's Scott Hairston, and he takes wide from Mota 1-1. Mota appearing for the second time in this series. Worked an inning on Tuesday night, gave up no runs and one hit. Are you back already?
Yes, it was quite a setup there, I'll tell you.
Did you sprint?
Well, it wasn't exactly the kid ought to stay in the picture, but I'll tell you, it was something over there. It was cool doing it. I'll tell you, it was fun talking about that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't think I'm talented enough to be a pitching coach, but boy, that's the stuff I love to talk about and occasionally talk about with other pitchers.
Hairston hits one out to left, and Ross reels it in for the second out. It's got to be an interesting job being a pitching coach because you can impart that wisdom intellectually, you can demonstrate, but ultimately is only one guy in the middle of that diamond.
And you can have the best stuff in the league, but if you don't believe it yourself, there's no chance of you moving forward. And I think that's something that Mike struggles with. And can I tell you, no one works harder, no one wants to be great more than Pelf. But, if he doesn't believe it 100%, then it never will show in his play. And that's, listen, everyone goes through it. I talk all the time about leading the league in walks in 85. You have to get over it at some point. Hopefully sooner than later.
1-2-3 inning for Mota. Pelfrey goes back to the mound for the 7th with a 3-run lead. In for defense, he'll play center field, replacing Scott Hairston. Mike Pelfrey, only the second time he's gotten through 6 innings this year. Went 7 2 starts back in his best start of the year against Arizona. Has himself a 5-2 lead this afternoon. He's given up just 1 earned run and 3 hits over 6 innings. Cody Ross leads off the 7th. Ross has flied to right and struck out 0 for 2. And a first pitch breaking ball for ball 1.
Sure like to see, though, Pelf around the 15 pitch per inning mark. He's been consistently around 20 and plus this season.
Well, it's been 2 different games for Pelfrey so far in that regard. 27 pitches in the first 3 innings, 66 in the next 3 innings. So it's all averaged out to about 15 per inning. That's not bad. And Ross gets under one into left field. And Jason Bay tracking it with the wind. It's not easy to down any ball in the air. 1 out. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin standing by with a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Just an awful month of May so far for Johnson. Boy, he's just been spectacular, hasn't he?
Yes.
Here's Miguel Tejada. By the way, the Marlins won the opening game of that series. Mike Stanton all of a sudden getting red hot.
Did you see that ball he hit left center for a home run? About 10 rows back in St. Louis.
2-run homer, breaking up a tie game in the 9th inning. He's hit 3 in the last 4 games now. The other thing about that game last night, Chris Carpenter took it on the chin again, and no decision for him, but he goes the entire month of April without getting a win.
Well, he spent the entire night also, John, with handling Ramirez. There was a play at the plate, and I thought Ramirez was within his rights. He slid into, bases loaded, 1 out, trying to complete the double play as Molina. He slid into Molina, upset the throw, and the throw went down the right field line. Carpenter was yelling and screaming at Ramirez like he did something wrong.
Ike goes for the tag on Tejada, and he gets him for the 2nd out. Thought he was going to flip that ball to Pelfrey, but Ike decided to do it himself and made the tag.
You know, I think this is a good play by Ike, and the reason I say that is sometimes the toughest exchange between a first baseman and a pitcher is when it's so close.
And Ike judged the situation well, realized that he had time to get Tejada, and did, as we look at the Mercedes-Benz Ultramo, brought to you by your tri-state dealers on the web at searchmercedes.com.
Pelps setting a pick and then running over the umpire.
Mark Carlson almost got the worst of that.
Here's the pick. Get out of the way. Uh-oh.
Well, he can't account for everybody.
It's a big guy running around out there.
Eli Whiteside up for the 3rd time. He's reached on an error and drawn a walk. Pelfrey out at 100 pitches now. Nice. 2-to-1 strike to ball ratio. And the slider off the plate, 1-1. Pat Burrell's out on deck to pinch hit if Whiteside can keep the inning going. There is the Met killer Burrell, who had a big hit last night. And Whiteside pops one up. We'll see if Polino can get it, but it's just out of play. 1-2. Who's the first guy you saw catching sunglasses?
Boy, it's been. I thought LaDuca was the first guy I saw. I haven't seen many.
I've never understood it because you're looking away from the sun as a catcher. The only time it might come into play is on a pop-up, but even then you've got a lot of shade from the stadium.
Well, I think because of the technology of the glasses, the glare that they're getting rid of with those glasses.
I guess the same thing applies to hitters wearing sunglasses.
I've never owned a really good pair of sunglasses. I'm from the school of I'm going to lose them. Right. So, you know, I'm on Houston Street, New York City. They're like $8 to $10. I get 3 pair, and then I lose them after about 2 months. So I've never had a good pair, but the players that use them say that it cuts down all the glare.
Swing and a miss, and Pelfrey blows away Whiteside at 94 miles an hour to end the inning. 4th strikeout for Pelfrey. 5-2 New York. Rangers did not put mustard on their pretzels.
That's another
was
city.
in Philadelphia.
Exactly, yeah.
But the mustard has made its way north, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, I'm a big mustard guy, but more on the hot dog than on the pretzel.
What do you look like after you've had the mustard on the pretzel? Come on.
You need a couple of napkins. 3 players to appear in a record 24 All-Star games. Your AT&T trivia question, and these were all pretty big names.
Maybe that's why the National League had such a dominance in the All-Star game for such a long time.
True, they won, what, 18 of 19 at one point? Mays will turn 80 tomorrow.
Wow.
Willie Mays, 80 years old. Top of the batting order, Jose Reyes up against Guillermo Mota, and he takes ball 1. Reyes has a huge hit today, a 2-run triple in the second inning. His 3rd triple of the year. He has struck out in his other 2 at-bats today, both against Jonathan Sanchez, now batting lefty for the first time. Sanchez had an interesting line today, 5 innings, 5 hits, 5 runs, 6 walks, 6 strikeouts. And throwing a home run. Sanchez on the hook in this 5-2 game. 2 straight starts. He's walked 6, but the last one against Washington, he didn't give up an earned run. 1-1 to Reyes with Who and Wright to follow. And it's bounced on the right side. And Emmanuel Burris makes the play, 1 out.
So Willie, when he came to the Mets, was in his 40s.
Yeah. He came over in 72. I guess he was 41 at the time.
Wow.
Finished the 72 season and played all of 73. By the way, after those 3, Aaron, Mays, and Musial, the next most All-Star games is 18. So you drop all the way from 24 to 18. Ted Williams, who missed 5 years, of course.
So he would have been 23, 24,
right.
maybe.
Cal Ripken and Brooks Robinson all were in 18 All-Star games.
I don't forget, but people tend to forget sometimes how good Brooks Robinson was. Wow.
You know what I think of when I think of those names that we just threw out there, especially for my generation, Aaron and Mays? What I remember is that when those guys came to play at Shea Stadium as enemy ball players, every time they came up, they got a huge hand.
Really?
Popped up by Who on the left side. And Tejada calling and catches it for the 2nd out. SNY is giving back to local youth baseball leagues with the SNY Play Ball Award presented by Sports Authority, offering $5,000 grants to in-need organizations to be used for new equipment, uniforms, or field improvements. The deadline to apply is June 15th. For details, visit SNY.TV or any local Sports Authority location.
So there were no Larry Jones moments for those guys when they came in town.
Not for those guys. I mean, there might have been for other guys, but I mean, the guys who were revered, the guys who you knew were the future Hall of Famers, Clemente, Aaron, Mays, every time they came to Shea Stadium, every at-bat, they got a hand.
Well, maybe because you didn't see them every day playing on the television. That was your only chance to see them play.
Well, I think also, the nature of being a fan has changed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's much more of a we against them and the good guys against the enemy and all that. The whole nature of the sporting fan, I think, has changed over the last 30, 40 years. But it's an interesting cultural phenomenon. But I think it also talks to how revered those players were in an era where maybe we didn't know quite as much about some players.
With all the other stuff, right?
Exactly.
Well, I know that my father would let me stay up late growing up in Massachusetts when they would be on the West Coast. And that was his thing. He'd say, listen, you might not see Campy Campaneris play. You got to watch this guy play. He doesn't, he's not going to hit home runs. He's just going to help his team win. Those are the kind of guys he'd like to watch play.
Well, and I think, also in a day when there were so many fewer games available on television, that made the All-Star game that much bigger, because sometimes that was the only time you saw those players. Some of the biggest stars in the game. Wright is 1 for 2 and a walk. And, of course, we got spoiled in New York because you have both leagues coming to town all the time.
Right.
You go and live in American League town like Boston, you only saw American League play.
I know for me, I was telling you this morning that growing up in Boston, you loved the Red Sox, but you had a National League team. You always had a team you rooted for in the National League.
3-2 to right, and a breaking ball hit toward the middle of the diamond. And Fontenot runs it down and throws out right. We had that as Met fans. We had the American League team we rooted against.
That's
Cadillac. Visit your Tri-State Cadillac dealer or CadillacTristate.com to learn more about attractive lease and finance offers. By Verizon Fios. Switch to Fios, a network ahead. To learn more, visit Verizon.com/getFios. And by the Volkswagen Going Gone event. Great deals are here, but not for long. Visit VWDealer.com. Mike Pelfrey still out there chucking in the 8th inning. Darren Ford pinch hitting for the Giants. Only one Met pitcher has gone 8 innings deep into a game this year, and that was R.A. Dickey against the Astros on April 20th. So it's nice to see Pelfrey out there pitching in the 8th. I get it. Maybe his best inning of the game in the 7th.
did.
Finished it by blowing away Eli Whiteside with a high fastball. 4 strikeouts this afternoon. There's a strike to Ford, 2-1. Darren Ford, the speedster, has appeared in each of the first 2 games of this series off the bench and has used his wheels in both. At a bunt single on Tuesday night, hit by a pitch, stole a base last night.
Got to watch out for that bunt single again, even though he's up on the count.
He is all about his legs.
Yep.
He has 3 career major league hits. It's not quite Herb Washington.
Well, he's just one of those great, tremendous athletes that they're trying to teach the game to as he goes along.
He's the Essex Snead of the Giants.
There you go.
Strike 3 call. So Pelfrey gets Ford looking. And Ford lingers to discuss it with Eric Cooper.
I don't know how he could argue. He was backing out when the pitch came. Watch him. Kind of backs out away from the pitch. You got to stay with that. Keep your head on the baseball and then back off. And I'm not saying he's not wrong. I think the ball did catch a little bit of the plate there, but that could have been down.
Cooper called it a strike. Ford thought he had a better idea.
Very good.
Here's Rowand, who's 0 for 3. Popped up his last 2 at bats. And takes a strike from Pelfrey. And Rowan bounces one toward the hole, a base hit. Only the 4th San Francisco hit of the afternoon. A 1-out base runner for the Giants in the 8th.
Tomorrow night, the Dodgers come to town. Here are your city probables for the 3 games. John Neese gets the assignment of trying to stop Andre Ethier's hitting streak tomorrow against Hiroki Kuroda. Chris Young, who was so brilliant in Philadelphia on Sunday night, goes Saturday against John Garland, and R.A. Dickey Sunday against the young lefty Clayton Kershaw.
That's a tough assignment for R.A. He is a great young pitcher.
Emmanuel Burris takes a strike. Burris had a bunt hit his last time up, 1 for 3. 113 pitches now for Pelfrey, trying to go 8 innings for the first time since last August. And back-to-back starts in late August last year, where he went 8. 1-1 to Burris. Mike O'Connor, the lefty, is up alongside Francisco Rodriguez. You have 2 left-hand hitters up after Burris in Fontenot and Huff. But if it gets dicey enough here in the 8th, it'll be straight to K-Rod. And a knee-high fastball for a strike, 1-2.
I have to say, both teams have been challenged a little offensively in this series at times. I've never seen so many fastballs taken for strikes. And I know both of those are on the knees and tough pitches, but this whole series has been that way.
Slapped to short. Reyes will have to hurry to turn 2. Who with the turn? Not in time. And Burris just too fast, and that ball not quite hit hard enough to turn the double play.
Boy, that was quite a turn, though. I thought they got him at first base. Good shovel by Reyes. Quick turn by Who. It was close at first base. Let's see if we get it in the glove before Burris touches the base. Well, it was close. And we get the benefit of 3 times mark on first base. Carlson only has 1. Doesn't it get in the glove? Bang, bang. Got to give it to Burris.
Could have gone either way.
Yep.
Eric Collins out at the mound. 2 out and a runner at first. The left-hand hitter Fontenot coming up. And it looks like K-Rod is going to get the assignment to look for the 4-out save. So a terrific outing, all said and done, for Mike Pelfrey as he goes 7 2/3 for the first time this year. Called to the bullpen, brought to you by Lincoln. Mike Pelfrey getting a well-deserved round of applause from the Citi Field faithful after his longest outing of the season. And now K-Rod on to try and nail it down for him, looking for the 4-out save. Mike Fontenot homered back in the fourth. The runner goes, and Burris is out at second base. Perfect throw by Ronnie Polino. Reyes puts down the tag, and that ends the top of the eighth. Burris down by 3 runs, trying to steal a base in the eighth. And Polino with a great throw to get him. For the Giants as we go to the bottom of the eighth.
Runslow pitched a couple innings in the first game on Tuesday night. Gave up a run on 3 hits.
Comes in to face Carlos Beltran leading off in the home 8th inning. Beltran hit a 2-run homer in the 5th after the Giants had cut the Mets lead to 3-2. Beltran's homer extended the lead again. 5th of the year for Beltran. 4 of the 5 as a right-hand batter, and he gets another right-handed turn here against Runsler, and takes the fastball away.
Just got a little fastball that Sanchez was trying to come inside and just dropped it in that front row.
Two 2-0 to Carlos. Jonathan Sanchez went 5 innings, allowed 5 runs, 5 hits, 6 walks. Guillermo Mota faced 6, retired 6. Beltran, Bay, and Davis trying to extend the Mets' lead in the 8th. Pulled down to third. Long throw to make for Tejada in the dirt, and Huff with a nice scoop to get Beltran one away.
Nice play there by Tejada. Just had enough on this throw to get Beltran by a half a step. I don't know about you, but the double in last night's game, the smelling of the hit here by Beltran, his running has gone up a notch. Absolutely.
Almost gone to the point now where you don't even think about Beltran being impaired in any way.
Also, maybe it's going to give him enough confidence that there might be 10 bags during the season he might be able to get late in the game.
0-2 to Bay, who made his return to the lineup today after 2 days of paternity leave. Had a double his first at bat and scored the first run of this game. Since then, he struck out and walked 1 for 2. Well, Mike Pelfrey with his most impressive and his longest outing of the season, and he's standing by with Kevin Burkhardt.
Mike, you had 2 starts where you just felt awful and got through it. So the difference today, and what'd you feel like out there?
I felt better. obviously, I think in the first, the other part of the game, I was online. Mechanically, probably the best I felt all year, and I felt like I put the ball where I wanted it. And in the middle innings, I thought I had to work, too hard, and I tried to do a little too much. But I thought I got back to in the seventh inning. I thought I got back to being online and nice and easy, and felt like I was able to put the ball where I wanted, which obviously helps.
Mike, you told me a few starts ago against Atlanta you started to feel like your sinker was coming back to you a little bit after losing it for a little while. Did you feel that continued today, especially earlier in the game? You're starting to get that feel of what that pitch does for you?
I'm getting a better feel for it. Obviously, I got some more ground balls today with that pitch, and obviously it's going to be a big pitch, going forward. So hopefully it, continues to get better, and we'll go from there. When the
first time you work with Ronnie Polino in the regular season, just what's the dynamic like there? The first time you get to work with him, and the communication factor that goes on before and during the game.
We talked before. Obviously I thought he did a good job back there. Calling the game. There were times where I would have like a split or a slider grip in my hand, and he would call it. He would call a slider, and I said, "Oh man, we're on the same page right now.
Right.
So this is good." And even after I had to run the bases, he even came out and gave me a little, let me breathe a little bit. So and that was nice of him too.
It looked like he at the times really wanted to make you go inside. I mean, at least to us, was that true? Did he kind of push you inside a lot during the game?
Yeah, he was. We worked in a lot today, and. Obviously, he was obviously a big part of that. He kept wanting to go in there, and obviously I had a lot better command on the inside of the part of the plate today than I have in the past.
Mike, I know you got to run, feel better, and hopefully the Mets can wrap this one up for you. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank
Mike Pelfrey, guys, back to you.
All right. Thanks, Kevin, and thanks to Mike for doing the interview.
Online for you folks at home, what he meant by that is that if you draw a direct line from the rubber to home plate, Mike is trying to say that he's going to take that ball and go from the rubber straight through the plate instead of kind of drifting towards first base, drifting towards third base. None of that kind of movement of your body that'll take away from the direct approach of taking that baseball and firing it to the catcher.
And that's good for any pitcher, but probably especially good for a tall pitcher.
It really is. His mechanics he was talking about were the best I've seen so far this season. He kept it pretty simple. Early in the game, that good two-seamer, and he was right. He struggled a little bit, but fought through it, and that's what you love to see.
Ike hits the ground ball. To his right goes Burris, plants and throws in time to end the inning. Mets are down 1-2-3. Now K-Rod will try and finish it off in the ninth. Kuroda as the Mets open up their series against the Dodgers here at Citi Field. Mets-Dodgers coverage begins with Pepsi Max pregame live Tomorrow at 6:30 only on SNY. Mike Fontenot, who was stranded at the plate when Emmanuel Burris made the decision to try and steal a base down by 3 runs in the 8th and was caught. Gets a fresh turn at bat here in the 9th. Now tomorrow the Mets square off against the red-hot Andre Ethier in his 29-game hitting streak, assuming that he can make his way into the lineup after sitting out yesterday with some elbow inflammation. He said that he was available to pinch hit late in the game. But with the Mets throwing a lefty tomorrow, maybe he sits out, maybe he plays, I don't know.
And it certainly wasn't like he was dodging Carlos Zambrano. He owns him in his career. So
Aubrey Huff on deck, and then Nate Scherholtz here in the 9th. There's a strike, 3-1. And Fontenot takes a strike, 3-2. Mike Pelfrey went 7 2/3, allowed 2 runs, only 1 earned on 4 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, and a home run. Lowers his ERA from 7.39 to 6.06. 6.06 doesn't sound great, but after 7.39, it's a big step in the right direction.
Listen, it was a Nina roast only a couple of weeks ago, 9-something. So good work by Pelf.
Well, that's twice in the last 3 starts now. He's put his A game forward against the Diamondbacks and again here today.
You know, he's been known to go on those streaks, so Mets are anticipating that's going to happen here.
Well, the next one is a challenge. He'll go up against a good offensive team and a great offensive ballpark in Colorado. So we'll see if he can keep it going.
Colorado can't possibly play as well as they played here. I mean,
well, Tulowitzki.
They didn't do anything wrong for 4 days.
8th pitch of the at bat coming. And another foul ball from Fontenot. Aubrey Huff and Nate Scherholtz to follow for the Giants in the 9th. It's been 9 years since the Giants swept a series from the Mets, and the Mets trying to avoid that here in the 9th inning. Mets will be in San Francisco right before the All-Star break. Fontenot keeps wasting him away.
That's right. That trip right before the All-Star break is to Los Angeles and San Francisco for the weekend.
And that's where the Mets might hook up again with Timmy. He was something last night.
He was. He reminded me of he was good and like there on those last 5 hitters, striking them all out.
Looked vulnerable early in the game, but not late. 10th pitch of the at bat. And there'll be an 11th. So K-Rod brought on to try and get 4 outs. First one was easy. He didn't have to retire a batter. Got the caught stealing from Burris to end the 8th. But working hard against Fontenot to start the 9th. And he walked him. So Fontenot waits out Frankie Rodriguez, and the Giants get a leadoff base runner in the 9th. Let's check in with Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda, see what's coming up on Lincoln Postgame Live. All right, guys, we'll check in with you later. Here's Aubrey Huff, and he takes wide for ball 1. Huff is 0 for 3 today. Bounced into a double play his last time up. Meanwhile, K-Rod continues his streak this year of never having a 1-2-3 inning. Walking the leadoff hitter in the 9th. He's Mr. Entertainment. But he's been solid so far this year. I mean, he gives up his base runners, but he generally finds his way out. It was certainly the case here on Tuesday night.
You were talking about Lincecum last night. K-Rod, when the tough gets going, he gets better. And sometimes he has to be.
The runner goes, and the Mets will let Fontenot go on defensive indifference. But now it's 2-1 on Huff.
Mike Krukow and Dwayne Kuiper, who do the games here, we were exchanging notes, and he said, how's K-Rod throwing? And I said, you know, he's going to strike out the side. You just don't know how many hitters he's going to go through until he does it.
Well, he's now worked 12 1/3 innings, given up 14 hits and 9 walks. That's 23 base runs. It's almost 2 base runners an inning.
And how many punch-outs then?
Well, he's got 15 strikeouts, but he's only given up 2 runs.
Yeah.
Is what I was going to come down to, and somehow he gets it done. He had the blown save in the first series of the year in Florida, but he's been perfect in save opportunities since.
Much like Brian Wilson for the Giants, same thing. Blew his first save and been perfect since then.
It's been a week since Frankie's last opportunity. Two and two now to Huff. And he checks his swing. Did he go? Nope. Polino thought he had him. But Huff stopped at 3-2.
I thought that was a pretty good call. Change up in the dirt. Boy, a little flick at the top of that bat, but Huff able to pull it back. I certainly would want that called if I were throwing.
Jeff Kellogg, the third base umpire, said no, so Huff's still in there at 3-2. So back-to-back full counts for K-Rod to start the inning. He walked Fontenot. Certainly doesn't want to walk Huff and get the tying run to bat. And he throws the changeup, and this time he went around. And Frankie picks up the strikeout for the first out of the ninth.
Eric Cooper, the home plate umpire, was going to let the third base umpire call this one. He called it by himself. That bat, of course, went over the plate just a little more than the last time, and good call for Cooper.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Nate Scherholtz is 0 for 3 today, 3 for 10 in the series, including a home run.
K-Rod's more like a tightrope walker, isn't he? I mean, that pitch is in the dirt. If it's taken by Huff, big trouble. But not afraid to throw all his pitches on any count.
Tightrope, no net.
No, yeah, that's right.
And ball 1 to Scherholtz with Cody Ross to follow. There have been only 9 hits in this game. Mets got 2 huge hits, one from Reyes, a 2-run triple in the second, one from Beltran, a 2-run homer in the fifth. Giants got the home run from Fontenot in the fourth, added an unearned run driven in by the pitcher Sanchez in the fifth. And now K-Rod behind on Scherholtz, 2-0. There's a strike. Borderline 2-1. And Scherholtz fouls off the fastball, 2-2. So Philippe Petit keeps putting one foot in front of the other. Now he's 2-2 on Scherholtz. Ball 3. And a full count. Well, again, a walk puts the tying run at the plate with a guy who can hit the ball out of the ballpark. Cody Ross standing on deck. 3 batters, 3 full counts for K-Rod. And now the 3-2 to Scherholtz. And he walked him. So 2 walks in the ninth inning for Francisco Rodriguez. Dan Warthen will take a trip to the mound before K-Rod takes on Cody Ross as the Giants get the tying run to the plate here in the ninth. Tonight, starting at 10:30 p.m., get continued coverage of today's Mets-Giants series finales, plus interviews, highlights, and recaps of everything New York sports on Geico Sports Night tonight, starting at 10:30 p.m. only on SNY.
I know there's always a lot of talk about closers of coming in the 8th inning and sitting down and going back out there. I think it's a big excuse personally when they use that. Simply, K-Rod has to, when you have these kind of leads, has to be less afraid of contact. Let them put it in play. You have gloves out there.
So here's Ross, who's 0 for 3 today, 1 for 7 in the series. And Cody takes below the knees for ball 1. It's games like these that got Davy Johnson an antacid commercial. And 2-0. So K-Rod just really having trouble throwing strikes.
I think you really have to take a look at your own bullpen now at this point. You have a 3-run lead. You have your closer who's your best pitcher out there, but he's struggling.
You can't lose this game.
You can't lose it, so you got to have someone up ready to go just in case.
So far nobody throwing, but that may be about to change. 2-0 to Ross, and that's a strike. 2-1. Frankie threw 2 pitches when he came on in the 8th, but he's thrown 26 already here in the 9th. Miguel Tejada on deck. Now the 2-1 to Ross, and there's a strike. Corner and knees, 2-2.
Ross didn't like that one either. This is some kind of pitch to throw on the 2-1 count. Caught the front of the plate. Ross thought it was low.
Darn near perfect. Jason Isringhausen trying to get ready. Just getting started. 2-2. And that was close to the same spot. Now a full count. That's 4 of them in a row now for K-Rod in a hard-working 9th inning. 30 pitches already, still only 1 out. So a huge pitch to make here to Ross with Tejada on deck. First and second and 1 out. 3-2 to Ross. And he lines one to left field. It'll stay up for Bay. No, it drops in for a base hit. And Fontenot goes to third. The bases are loaded. Off the bat, it looked as though that was going to have more hang time, but it dovetailed right into the grass.
Well, the problem with walks is that if you get a little break, which they did here, it was off the end of the bat by Ross. And we know about the Mets defense, and the outfielder plays a little deep. Bay did everything he can to try to come in this baseball. Luckily, he blocked that baseball, but that was off the end of the bat with a big swing. So it looks like it's going to be a big line drive if you're the outfielder, but when you hit it off the end of the bat, kind of gravity just takes it to the ground.
So now the tying runs are aboard with 1 out, and Miguel Tejada, who's 0 for 3, but he's hit 2 balls very hard today, including a searing line drive that David Wright caught at his feet. And Buster Posey has come out on deck to pinch hit for the Giants. 0-1 to Tejada. Ripped down the left field line, but it'll go foul. Tejada getting out ahead of that fastball and drilling it. But now K-Rod ahead 0-2. And you see the numbers for Tejada against Francisco Rodriguez. They've been outstanding.
Poor Mike Pelfrey, he just turned the channel to Oprah. I don't know if he can watch this. Gee.
Two walks and a base hit have filled the bases with 1 out. 0-2 to Tejada. And it's fouled away.
We found it interesting that K-Rod has thrown a lot of changeups and fastballs, but no slider yet.
Rare closer who has 3 weapons of that caliber at his disposal. Fontenot at third, Shearholtz at second, Ross the tying run at first with 1 out. 5-2 New York, 9th inning. 1-2 to Tejada.
I'm not sure how old Miguel Tejada is. don't like to face him in these kind of situations.
We were talking about it earlier, just the knack that he has had throughout his career for the late game heroics. One, two. Stays in the at bat. Again, the 1-2. Breaking ball struck him out. Now K-Rod unleashed the curve, and he has his second strikeout of the inning.
That's the breaking ball looking for. Nasty slider there to Tejada, way out front. He was on the fastball. He was taking the change. The slider got him.
2 walks, 2 strikeouts, a base hit, but the work not done yet, because now Buster Posey will come up to pinch hit. Posey 0 for 5 last night, getting the day off today with a day game after a night game. Bases loaded, 2 down. And Posey takes a fastball for a strike. Fontenot, Shearholtz, and Ross the base runners. An enormous number of pitches for K-Rod here in the ninth. He threw 2 in the 8th, 35 more here in the 9th inning. Now the 0-1. Inside, 1-1. The pitcher's spot is due up next. Posey's batting for Whiteside. Pat Burrell has come out on deck. And Posey takes a strike. 1-2.
Well, two-seamer here from K-Rod. Usually he gets that cut away. This one came back over the inside corner.
So now the Giants are down to their final strike. And with the wind gusting, K-Rod stepping off. One and 2 to Buster Posey. And he just gets a piece of the breaking ball. He was doing the cha-cha-cha to get that ball on his bat and fouled away.
What a hitter, though, this kid is. That is the same breaking ball he threw to Tejada. Somehow he's able to go down and get a piece.
Again, the 1-2. Bounced to short. Reyes has got it. To who for the force, and the ball game is over. K-Rod staggers to the finish as the Mets salvage the finale of the series. K-Rod saves it from Mike Pelfrey as the Mets win it 5-2 over the Giants.
Well, a must-win for Terry Collins' crew. Mike Pelfrey, of course, the story, going 7 2/3, but worked through a real tough 4th and 5th inning, working through a home run and an error by Reyes. And Carlos Beltran now is just on fire at home. 9-game hitting streak here at Citi Field. 3 home runs and 8 RBIs during those 9 games.
Now K-Rod threw 42 pitches in an inning and a third, but in the end keeps the Giants off the board in accordance with his general pattern. There's your Chase final totals as Pelfrey gets his 2nd win of the year with his longest outing of the season. Reyes and Beltran with the big hits as the Mets win it 5-2 to avoid the sweep. Back with more in just a moment.